1063. Joined now by a gentleman who is playing in this tournament, who is a South Florida native himself, played at Michigan, a 12-year NFL vet. You saw him with Seattle, Minnesota, a long-storied career at left guard. It's Steve Hutchinson joining the program now. Steve, we appreciate the time. How you doing?
Hey, my pleasure. Great to be here.
So, Steve, give me a feel of the golf course really quick. You're a South Florida guy. I assume golf was in your blood in some capacity. Am I wrong on this?
No. I grew up playing golf. We grew up in Broward, so playing some of those courses there in Coral Springs. This is a tough track. These greens are like glass tables, and of course the winds makes it challenging. But it was a great 2 days. Played yesterday as well as today in the pro-am, and it was fun. We had two good groups, and you couldn't ask for 2 better days.
And give me a sense of this: when you got out here, there's a bunch of pros, former football players playing. Yeah. Everybody loves golf, especially like former athletes, because it's great because it's easier on the body. You guys need to compete in some capacity, right? Like once you're done with your playing career, this is sort of the next thing you sink your teeth into.
Yeah, no, you do. A lot of guys play golf, and that's actually that's kind of the thing that brings us all together more times than not, especially Hall of Famers. We go back, most of us, for Enshrinement Week in Canton in August, and then there's events. There's different golf events, different things, regional that a lot of guys will show up for, and there's always the usual suspects. There's guys that don't miss a golf tournament like John Randall and some of these guys.
Yeah.
But this was great. This was the first year that the Hall of Fame partnered with James Hardy, and so far it's been great. I mean, I'm sure they'll tell you there's some things they want to work out for moving forward in year 2. But from a first year standpoint, I mean, it was pretty smooth as far as I could tell. It was great golf, great setup. They had a great dinner, opening kind of welcome party for us the other night, and you couldn't have beat that. And what a great club here. Broken Sound.
How is it to have all the Hall of Fame? Obviously not everybody's here, but just a plethora of you guys in one spot, able to celebrate golf and able to celebrate what you guys accomplished in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good for us selfishly because a lot of these guys still live, all over the country. You got a lot of guys in California, you got a lot of West Coast guys in general, Midwest, and of course a lot of guys live in Florida. But so when you have an event like this, therethere's not too many. We always say that we wish there were a lot more than there were, so you got to take advantage of it. So there's guys I haven't probably seen in 6-8 months, or from the last golf time event, wherever that may have been, and so it's just a good little reunion for us every time.
Any defensive linemen and linebackers that you had to deal with in your playing career that you see out here on the golf course that it's almost like I hate that guy, but now we're friends?
Well, it's funny once you get done playing, the
animosity kind of washes away.
Yeah, you just kind of laugh about.
You're brothers now, right?
Exactly, right. We're on the same team all for the first time.
Now,
right?
Steve Hutchinson, the Hall of Famer, joining us now. Steve, I want to get a sense. You're a South Florida guy.
Yeah.
You went to Michigan.
That's right.
Walk me through that decision-making process.
Yeah, so mid-'90s, coming out of graduating high school in '96, Miami. We were talking about a little bit before we got on air. Miami was, if you remember, kind of in that rebuild mode. Butch Davis had just taken over. They had lost some scholarships due to some violations, and I think they had gotten some bowl years stripped from them. So Miami kind of, and plus I think that was too close to home for me. UF, I'd kind of up to Gainesville on a couple unofficials. I liked it. Florida State would kind of been probably my second choice after Michigan. So, but ultimately I chose Michigan, and it worked out.
What do you remember from those days? Most obviously, you won a national championship, but do you still talk to those players on that Michigan squad?
Yeah, it's kind of
so. Special teams, Steve.
Yeah, no, it was, and we know that, right? It's funny because now here we are, this many years later, that now we're at the age where our kids are in college. So I have a daughter at Michigan. A lot of guys that I played with have kids at Michigan. So we go up there to see them on parent weekends or catch a game, but it also becomes a little bit of a reunion for us too, and it's kind of full circle seeing our kids doing the same things we were doing. And
now, walk me through the Ohio State rivalry back then too, because obviously Michigan has made a lot of headlines with beating the Buckeyes for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Michigan won 2 years ago. Buckeyes won this year.
Right.
Walk us through how it was the rivalry at your time.
Yeah,
there.
no, I mean, especially coming from South Florida, you just
you kind of get it's not like a Miami Notre Dame.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily have
Florida State, Miami Florida State rivalry, the in-state rivalries, and then you get up there and you're like, wow, this is a different level, so it's like the first thing you learn. It's,
yep.
it's Ohio State, and it's like you're indoctrinated with hating a team, and you don't really understand why, and then you go, oh, you play them, and you just see the intensity and the sheer just dislike between the two teams. But yeah, it's funny, it's everything's cyclical. So my senior year, we won down in Columbus. Ultimately, they fired John Cooper.
Right.
That was a long run for us winning that game. And then it kind of roles were reversed, and for the longest time, and now that the last handful of years, it's been back on our side. So I think that's a healthy thing for the rivalry. Keeping it competitive, having parity there, having teams.
Did this year drive you crazy, or because you got the championship last year at Michigan? Did Ohio State winning the whole thing? Did that sort of sting a little bit? Does it sting anymore? Does it matter?
No, I mean. We beat them. It's like we beat. What else you can do is you beat
Steve,
the national champs.
You're lucky because you got both last year, and Ohio State only got one of the two this year.
Steve, I'm a crazy Ohio State fan. It's one of my
own. Hear that. Yeah.
It's partner. It's one of my alma maters. I bleed scarlet, but that loss, they still give me crap because I wanted everyone fired.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was a chance that the Buckeyes could go on the run they did. And fair play to the team to rally around that and do that. But Colin and everyone else, they still give me crap for, well, you were done after Michigan. Steve, people don't realize how big that rivalry is.
No, it's huge.
They don't realize it.
It's huge, but it doesn't surprise me that they went and did it because, the way that the college playoffs are set up now, it's really kind of following suit with the NFL. And when the NFL, they say you just get in, and whoever gets hot at the right time.
Right.
So, like, the way we look at it, maybe, that kind of set something off in them losing, and then, like you said, everybody's calling for the head coach to be fired. And
totally.
It's kind of like, them against the world. They kind of button down, and then they go into it and just say, what the hell do we got to lose? And, sometimes that's what you need to be motivated. And, of course, once you get in the dance, as we say in the NFL, anything's possible. And of course, you hone in, you play your best ball, you don't make mistakes. The other team does, and at that level, when the stakes are that high, all it comes down to is a handful of plays.
Now, Hall of Fame left guard Steve Hutchinson joining Russo and Rizzo now. Steve, you got drafted by Seattle.
That's right.
And you had a 12-year career. You played primarily your career with Seattle and with the Minnesota Vikings. Two good careers there, too, because both franchises had good years when you guys were there. You played in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You played in that Steeler game, the first one, the Cowher year, against Roethlisberger. That Steeler team was a good team.
Yeah, no, that was a good game. There was always and the Steeler guys always give me crap for it, but there's always an asterisk there for some of those calls. But we did lose the game. Hats off to them. But
still bothers you.
For sure bothers me. And you see all these Super Bowls now, and they're in Miami or
Arizona
or something. And I was
LA,
in
the
Detroit.
Dome.
I was in Detroit. Nothing against Detroit, but I don't know if anybody wants to go to Detroit in February.
You're a Michigan guy. You can't say that.
That's crazy. That's
Steve,
crazy,
you can't.
Steve.
You're
Come
not
on,
allowed to
Steve.
say that.
It's Detroit. Come on.
It's Detroit in February.
I
I don't even know if Detroit people
What do you want, Steve? You're playing in the game. You want to party? I don't understand. What do you want, Steve? You want to go to Vegas?
Sunshine.
Stevie, I got a problem with it. You're a Michigan man.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, no, if you're playing for Detroit, you can't say it. But if you're going, you're like, hey, I got one Super Bowl and I want to go somewhere warm. Yeah.
Right.
That Steeler game was in Detroit that year?
That was the Super Bowl they awarded because the stadium Ford Field was fairly new, so
that's right.
And then you're right. And then we had a run in 2009 when I was with the Vikings.
That's interesting too. I want to talk to you about this because that year when they made that run, that was the year the Saints won it all.
That's right.
And that was with Brett Favre, quarterback. That was the infamous Bountygate year with the Saints.
Greg Williams.
And that game specifically was a big circled game on that Saints schedule for going after Favre.
Totally.
And how they handled that because that whole the Sharper and all those guys.
Yep.
Give me a sense of that game. Was there a sense that this defense, because you were on the offensive line, was that a little dirty? Did you notice it?
Well, I just noticed it was a physical game, but it wasn't anything. I mean, if you look back at the stat sheet, we had 400. I don't know how many yards offense we had.
38-28, 31-28.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think,
and
like that.
That's the game. Actually, after that is when they changed the overtime rules, because if you remember, we were going in to kick a field goal. We had the 12 men in the huddle.
Yes.
Backed us out.
Yes.
Threw an interception. The game was tied. went to overtime. Old rules. They won the toss, and neither defense could really stop the other's offense. It was just a back
Whoever
and
had
forth.
the ball last
and
was
so
going to win.
That's what happened, So they got the ball, went down and kicked the field goal and won it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the rules at the time, and they won it and ultimately ended up winning the Super Bowl. But yeah, that was a hard one. Losing a Super Bowl is hard, but like we felt like we could have matched up pretty good with
So it was a
with
magical
Indy that
year.
year.
That was a magical year.
Exactly. And Steve, walk through playing with Favre.
Yeah.
Especially towards the back end. Now,
Yeah.
obviously all the success there with Green Bay, but how was it?
He reinvigorated his career with Minnesota.
Yeah, really did.
It's crazy because I think everybody thought that when he got in there, you were going to get this 40-year-old quarterback and how much, but I knew Brett a little bit, but not like he was like the youngest guy spirit-wise in the locker room. Like he's a practical joker. He was always up. He always had energy. Like he's got energy like the guy's half his age. And he's doing it in year whatever it was for him. And he just came in and it was amazing to see how he just kind of owned the locker room from day one.
Right.
Now, a lot of that has to do with everybody respected him and all that. But like, man, he came in and it was like, boom, this is his off. He was running it. We just kind of elevated to his level, and then of course had some young guys that stepped up, and of course Brett, helped them out, and Sidney Rice and Percy Harvin, of course Adrian in the backfield.
Yeah, that's right.
So we
was
had
that Adrian's rookie year?
Unbelievable.
No, Adrian's rookie year I think was 2008, so it would have been the year before.
Okay.
Right,
But Steve, we mentioned Seattle. We mentioned that great run with the Vikings. What does it take? What does it take for a team to go on a magical and special run like that? Like I understand you didn't win the Super Bowl, but you still have to have that something.
You said it, get hot at the right time.
Yeah, get hot there, but like I mean the 2 years that I had two really good seasons, and the both years we talked about. Like,
right.
You knew in training camp the feel of the locker room.
Oh, really?
Like you knew something. Like this isn't just a normal year. Like you knew something was different. Like the energy, the way the guys got along, the competitiveness in practice. Like it was like every period in the old camp days where like we were going at it and not in we're sore, we're in a bad mood. Like it was like we were like we're getting you better, you're getting us better, and there's like no question as to why we're moving at this pace. It's just a faster deal, and then you get in the season and you just it's like you're moving at a different pace, and both those years were that way. And so you kind of get a sense of it, Obviously, things happen, injuries happen. You can start out hot and feel that way, and then, it's one guy goes down here in a key position or something like that, and then that can change the tide. But the name of the game is the having that cohesiveness, being on the same page early, having a great off season, going into it, especially now with the off season, it's so trimmed down and
it's not the same.
It's not the same as it used to be,
Not.
and staying healthy.
Staying healthy indeed. Steve Hutchinson, the Hall of Fame left guard, Michigan man, Seattle, Minnesota, played everywhere. Joining us on Russo and Rizzo from the James Hardy Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational. Give me a sense of offensive lines nowadays, because the way I looked at it, we saw that Eagle team, and it was just a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball with their defensive line and their offensive line. And all the teams in the postseason, they had their great quarterbacks, but they all had great lines.
Yeah.
I think it's almost a forgotten about unit. It always has been.
Yeah.
It's a forgotten about unit and just how paramount it is for a great team.
Yeah, I saw a thing on X a couple weeks ago that showed the percentage, the teams that had the highest percentage of the five guys playing together. So like percentage of snaps on the whole of the season that their starters played, right? And I think it was 9 out of the 10 top teams where they played their five guys the majority of the time, the highest percentage. They were 9 of the 10 were playoff teams.
Right.
So in this day and age, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just injuries, or it's, coaches feel like they're trying to get a look at somebody else, and this whole rotate a guy in for a series, rotate a guy, like
it's the wrong philosophy.
It's the wrong thing for an offensive line. Like
couldn't agree more.
Offensive line is all about knowing the guy next to you so well and getting an unspoken language with him and a feel that what he's going to do just based on you looking at a defensive front. You already know what he's thinking, and you know what you're going to do on that given play and a blocking combo or whatever it is. And so if you're rotating and you spend all camp playing with next to one tackle if I'm left guard, and then all of a sudden, the game starts and then, he plays the first series, and then there's a guy maybe I had a dozen snaps with, like, I don't know. We don't have that cohesiveness.
Steve, there's a trust factor.
There is. It's a big-time trust factor, and I think you see, for whatever reason, less than that. But if you're a team that you can keep your starting five healthy and kind of get them going early and make it through the season, the odds are going to tell you're going to be pretty successful.
Now, Steve, from the blind eye, we touched on that Eagle O-line. What impressed you the most about them? Because they had a journey. Mekhi Becton.
Yeah.
He turned him into a star again. I feel like a lot of the times it's coaching and schematics.
Yeah, it's you play. A lot of offensive coordinators, they have their deal, right? And sometimes, when you get to a team, or if you're new or whatever, like you're still trying to, well, it's my system, so we're going to run my system. Well, sometimes it takes a little massaging to get a square peg in a round hole, sure. Right? So I think when you know your personnel, you know what you do well, you eliminate what you don't do well, and try to give your guys set them up best for success. Doesn't mean you can't run your things, but this is what you got to work with.
Totally.
This is what we do well. Let's do it.
Now, speaking of doing something well, the Tush Push.
Yeah.
It's been a topic of conversation of should they get rid of it. As an Hall of Fame offensive lineman, your thoughts on the Tush Push?
I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, in my opinion, I think it's kind of crazy that you see other teams trying to do it, and they just don't have the success rate that Philly's had with it, right? And so, like, why? Yeah, of course they want it gone because they don't do it as well. This is basically what it comes down to. If you were guaranteed a first down every time you were in third and short, why wouldn't you want that? It's just a quarterback sneak with a couple guys pushing. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm old school.
Now tell me,
we both think it should stick around.
Yeah,
by the way,
100%.
so.
Tell me about when you're protecting for certain quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Favre, he was older in his career, but still, that's a gunslinger.
Yeah.
He likes to make a move.
Yeah.
He likes to kind of get creative. I believe Hasselbeck with Seattle.
Yeah.
Different types of play styles. Does that alter how you play?
Well, back when I played,
there's a little bit more pocket than it is today.
That was the norm,
yes.
Right? Like, I mean, we had a quarterback, Seneca Wallace, who I played with in Seattle, who was Matt and Trent's backup, and so Seneca was kind of like that running style quarterback back before everybody had one, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, when you have a drop back quarterback, where they're going to set up. Everything's timed, like it's very systematic, right? On a 5-step drop, he's going to be there, and then if trouble comes, he's going to want to step up and get rid of that ball. So without having eyes in the back of your head, when you're blocking a guy, if this guy's making a move,
there's an intuitive feel.
Yeah, there's an intuitive feel. Like, all right, if I just keep him going in this direction and flatten him out here, the quarterback's going to step up. The thing I think would be hard nowadays is when you have a quarterback who's mobile. Not to say that they can't be explosive, and you see a lot of these quarterbacks making plays with their legs and still being able to throw the ball downfield while they're getting outside the pocket, but. You just don't know. Like, you got a guy rushing you, and all of a sudden he decides he's going to go here, and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to push him that way.
All of a sudden he's over there rolling out.
And then all of a sudden the quarterback's over there, and you don't – how would you know that, right? So I think it's a double-edged sword.
It makes your job harder, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does. But at the same time, if you got defensive linemen that are kind of trying to stand up, trying to see where the guy's going, and he's not rushing full speed, it's there's a give and take there.
Interesting. Steve Hutchinson, the Hall of Fame left guard at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational with James Hardy, joining us on Russo and Rizzo. Steve, a couple more things here before we let you go. Best players you ever played against? I'm curious. Who was that guy that circled on the schedule that was always a pain to deal with you at left guard?
Well, there's a bunch of good players. I mean, being inside, I never really had a problem with the big, strong, like kind of just guys that wouldn't move straight ahead.
It's
a lot of times it's like when those defensive ends came inside, on third down, like, dealing with like a Julius Peppers or the guys that are just, we call them slippery,
Those were more of a pain
Those
to deal
are the
with.
guys, yeah, and then, but I tell the story all the time, and he's here playing. John Randall, like my first 3 years in the league as a rookie and my 2 years after that. John was his last 3 years. We played together in Seattle, and like just trying to block him every day in practice. By the time you got to the game, everybody else seemed like they were in slow motion. So I kind of had.
That's the last 3 years of his career.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. And I kind of got baptized by fire having to deal with him every day. And John only has one speed, same speed in Wednesday practice as it is on Sunday in the game. So when you have to go against that every day, and you're used to that speed and all that, then you're by the time Sunday comes. But this league is full of great players. There's players that get you and you get them back. You just at the end of the day you want to be able to say I got them more than they got me, so you can keep your job, right?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Steve, best club in the bag. Best club in the bag.
Oh, geez. Probably today, the last 2 days has been my 8-iron.
It's the best one. It's my favorite.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
See, it's
Steve,
never the same answer week by week.
Steve, you said the correct answer. 150 in, sign me up.
Yeah.
I wish that was my shot in golf every time.
That's right.
I take 150 in more than a 6-inch putt. I swear to God.
Right. Especially something like this. We were playing a shambles, so you're still playing best ball off the tee. But then if you got somebody that can put it out there, you're living in that 8-9 iron world, coming in. Now, a track like this, there's some long fives on this, and like I said, the greens are unforgiving to say the least. But no, it was fun. It was a good day. Good weather.
Were you a golfer in your playing career?
Not so much in playing career. When
it's all about rest, recovery.
But like living in Minnesota, like you can't even think about getting on the course till May.
We're from up north, so
I went to Wisconsin. I know
you can't even think about getting on the course till May, and then you go to training camp in July, and so like whatever ground you made up getting better, it's gone because you go to training camp.
You're done.
Wow. So. Okay. So fair enough, Steve. We appreciate you giving us the time here, giving us a little sense of your career, your great career. We hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in South Florida. Daughter's in Michigan. So do you go to a couple games every year?
Yeah, we try to. We try to go up and hit the parent weekends and all that. And like I said, we've got a bunch of guys I played with. Their kids are in school there, so we try to coordinate. We try to coordinate
with the football.
You guys, you going to the Buckeye game this year?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So 2 years ago we made it like kind of a tradition. We brought Thanksgiving up there.
Nice.
Because my daughter was up there, and she, of course, wanted to go to the game.
It's a magical weekend.
We're going to do it this year.
Truly a magical weekend.
Steve, walk with me here.
Yeah.
I think the big house is a little overrated. Am I wrong on that?
Camp Randall's.
Camp Randall stinks, too. No, you're talking to the wrong guy.
He's such a phony.
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Hang on.
Camp
Steve,
Randall's
let's talk about this for a second. He went to Wisconsin. He hates the school. I can't take it
I don't
serious.
hate the school. I think Camp Randall is so
He has
overrated.
nothing good to say.
They do have a good song, the Roll Out the Barrels.
But it's cool little gimmicks. It doesn't get filled. It does. Nobody. There's more stuff to do outside the stadium than there is in the stadium. And Wisconsin football has not been.
You
good.
will never.
I'm a very honest Wisconsin fan. The giddy optimist. Minnesota's the same thing. The giddy optimists at the Midwest, Michigan maybe a little bit. The fans. It's almost like the Packer fans, the Wisconsin fans. They think everything is better than it is. That the house could be burning down, and they're just going to be sitting down having their.
But I will say this. There are certain schools that college football is better when they're good. And I think Wisconsin's one of them.
I agree with that.
I think Nebraska needs to get back. They're on the right track.
Steve, the problem is it's been like since Bielema.
Texas was like that.
Texas was now they're back.
USC
needs to get back.
But Hutch, I was rooting for Fickle over there because he's a Buckeye. He was our coordinator at 14. But Bielema was the last time that team was good. They never beat Ohio State.
They had a couple
good
years with Chris. Let's be fair. But a couple good years with Chris.
Sure.
I agree. Yeah. So the Chris. I agree. Wisconsin's got its issues. I think that stadium is a little overrated. I thought the big house was too wide. It's too wide.
Yeah, it's the way it's. But now what they got they got the suites in there. It holds that noise in there a little bit more.
But at the same time, it's the only place I've been there numerous times. Good memories, but going down. Hutch. That's like the only state. There's something about that
tunnel
Colin.
when you're going down.
There's something about it.
Grade,
There's something about going in there.
It
it's
opens
magical.
up and it's.
I can't lie. It's a great place to watch a football game if the Buckeyes win. So there we go.
Yeah.
We'll see. Steve, appreciate the time. Looking forward to speaking again soon. All right,
thanks,
Steve Hutchinson, the left guard, Hall of Famer from the James Hardy Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational.